Another great town. Well done. Well done.
Okay, welcome to the Innovation Division's July event. You are in for a treat tonight because not only do you get a phenomenal founding partner and CEO of Bit Solutions and Skip Blackburn, you get an executive who has played pivotal roles all across startups, major organizations across the globe, as well as serving into special industries such as nonprofit associations. You get both solution software as well as the business. And you heard us talking before about the business development and capture and pipeline and growth building efforts. So you get a phenomenal background with regard to not only what's happening in the enterprise, but then really helping us to understand what the clients are expecting from these different solutions as we look to integrate AI into our pipeline and business development operations. So without further ado, please help me welcome Mr. Skip Blackburn to our Innovation Division virtual stage for our July webinar. Welcome, Skip.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Rhonda. I appreciate that. All of that stuff just means that I'm old, and that's okay. I'm good with that. I understand if that's where experience comes from, and I appreciate everybody's interest in today's webinar process. And ASQ is an amazing organization with their innovation division and process that they do. So, all of this wrapped up brings such valuable insight and information and education to anybody that participates and is part of this process. So we were excited to be part of this as well, which is fantastic. So thank you again for inviting me and making sure that we can help everybody understand what we do and how we do it and what's coming in the world. That's kind of the scary part, is what is coming up in this future world with AI, and what does that mean? So I'm going to double check. Can you see my dashboard?
Absolutely perfect, Skip.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So we did all that stuff. That just means I'm old. I've been to a lot of companies and a lot of places and visited probably almost every city in the country over my 100 years of working and leading companies. And it's been great because you meet so many diverse set of people with knowledge. And my theory in life is, if I didn't learn anything new today, I kind of wasted the day. So I'm always looking to talk to smart people, learn from them, figure out what I can learn from them, and hopefully now later in my process, what I can give back to the war fighters and to the GovCon community and to the organizations, whether they're startups, early birds or late bloomers. Everybody can learn all along the way, which is important. So today I just want to talk a little bit about AI because, everybody knows that's the big buzz right now in the industry, along with CMMC, mind you. But it's probably for the next 10 years, it is going to be the thing, the curve, the new technology. And just using Moore's Law, every year, the AI value, the AI community is going to double in what it can do to the world, good or bad, however you view AI. But we're going to focus mostly on how it affects government contractors. We're going to explore how it works in the capture management process, and how it can help you win more deals, not just find more deals, but win more deals. And the whole theoretical value of AI, it's going to save you time. And that is the one thing that everybody on this call, I don't care what you do for a living or how you do it, if there's anything in the world that can give you back a little bit more time in your day, that's the best value we can ask for in a product. Because right now, I have trouble running two companies and fitting it all in 24 hours and 7 days. So it's quite any tool that we can use that gives me time back to help step back and manage our growth is always a good thing. So we'll start with a little bit of a history lesson. Rhonda, what's our timing on this?
Oh, we have till 8 p.m., Skip, including questions and our closing, sir.
Good heavens. I'll never use all that or I'll be hoarse by the time I'm done. I could use that, believe me. I could use 12 hours and still not be there, but I'll get through gently and then we'll have plenty of time for questions, which will be fabulous. So just kind of historical on government contractors, that first 50 years, everybody refers to those as the good old days back in the 20s through the 70s in dealing with how the government needs were growing and how organizations were being created. You typically went out and visited organizations that you knew, and you walked the halls, you met people, you got introduced from friends to friends, and you know the government back then was looking for solutions, and they would like to use their friends, the people they know. And back then it was all about influencing a deal. How can I win this deal, whether it's building navy ships, building airplanes, or putting together accounting systems that would help the government manage their process better. Most of those ended up with 3 martini lunches with a 3-star general or an SES closing the deal. And if you did enough of those, nobody remembered what the deal was, and you'd end up winning anyway, which is a great way that business was done way back when. As everybody knows, times are changing and things are much different. So, in the last 40 years, from basically the 80s to the 10s, you still needed to visit organizations that you can do work for. You still needed to walk the halls and find and meet new people, making sure you get introductions from existing people to be able to manage that whole friendship process. And when you get introductions, your objective is to become friends with that new friend that you were just introduced to, so that they could feel confident about who you are and what you do. But with the FAR and the process, influencing opportunities became illegal. And the new phrase in the world was shaping a deal, not influencing a deal. And that became the new speak. You couldn't take people out for 3 martini lunches because your spend was only $25, and most martinis in most places are $25 to begin with. So it became a different process to win deals as the marketplace filled more and more with new government contractors that were created. And it went from 50 companies in the old days that were doing business with the government to today 750,000 companies that are registered in SAM to do business with the government. So the whole process of shaping a deal became a thing, and it's all about navigating where that deal is going to fall. So again, influencing a deal was giving gifts. If you were Lockheed Martin, I'm not blaming Lockheed Martin, but if you were a big company and you really wanted to win that $1 billion deal to build airplanes, you might park a brand new Cadillac out in front of the decision maker's house with the keys in it. And that was influencing the deal, right? You could slyly give gifts that nobody knew about, and that would slyly guide an award towards a company. And thankfully the FAR has was put into place to give guidance to that and give legality to competition in a fair way, to make it more appealing and applicable for companies to get started in the GovCon space and to be able to win business. So shaping deals has many forms. The most reticent piece that I can think of that I do often and did often for the 25 years I spent around the DC Beltway shaping complex deals was to determine first off how the incumbent's doing. Always first question after you get to know the people, become their friends, find out how the incumbent's doing to see if they're unseatable in their process. But second, when you're shaping a deal, you're really looking for the best place for that opportunity to come out that gives your company the best opportunity. So an example would be an IDIQ task order comes out on ITES 4S. I'm an ITES 4 holder, so I see the task order, or I'm talking to the government generally 2 years beforehand, figure out that they're trying to push it out on ITES because that's what they've always done. And I go back and look at our ITES pricing, the competition that I expect to bid on this deal, and what their pricing models were submitted for ITES. And we do an analysis to figure out if my pricing's better or worse. If I don't have an advantage over pricing, then I need to go back and explain to the government why that task order needs to be pulled off of ITES and pushed down to Oasis Plus, perhaps. Now I know in my head I have that the major competitor I have did not get awarded Oasis Plus, so they're taken off the table. And my pricing structure, whether it's regional or national, tended to be better than most of my competition for this type of work. So my job as a capture manager would be to explain, re-explain, and re-explain again to the PM, to the KO, to the CO, to the SABU, whoever I can explain it to, that the government gets more benefit by going through Oasis for this particular task order, and you give 100 reasons why. More competition, better pricing models, whatever you can explain to them to make them convinced that Oasis is a better play. And then you can help guide them to that, and they change the RFP. That's why when you're seeing a draft RFP and you read it and you see what it is, and then another draft comes out 3 months later and it's different in some form or fashion, not a lot generally, but some form or fashion, you know right then somebody like me has become friends enough with the government that's making the decisions to move things around to make it better for me, which is not good for you because that means I have the ear of the government. That's why capture management in all its glory is so important to do. So many companies wait for the RFP to come out and they're going to bid on it, and they've never met the government. And they have almost 0% chance of winning unless they low bid, LPTA bid that to win an award. And they just bid and bid and bid and lose and lose and lose because they weren't the ones in front of the government becoming their friends, giving them things you can give them, a free website design or development, white papers to help them understand the technology, whatever you can offer that falls within the FAR is all part of how you can manipulate or shape the deal to give yourself and your company an advantage. All of those things have happened over the last 40 years, and people aren't falling down, walking out of the bars, hoping to win a deal.
Skip, we have a lot of commercial folks probably on. Could you help us understand the impact or meaningfulness of the contract vehicles you were mentioning, just so we could give that background to our attendees, please?
Great. So, commercial sales are different. I love commercial sales. Our business, Bit Solutions, we sell commercially to government contractors. We do not sell to the government. So our transactions are very commercial. Commercial deals are the best. You you can walk into a CEO or CFO or a top C-suite folks. You can present what you're trying to sell them. They ask, well, how much is that? That's a great technology. How much is that? And you say, it's $100. And they say, wow, that's expensive. I don't know if we can do that. You say, how about $90? And they say, that's a much better deal. And you can shake hands and the deal is done, right? Not the same level of competition that is required when you sell to the government. And so when you sell to the government, there's a requirement, a legal requirement for fair competition. And so what happens is the government puts out a big contract, overarching contract, which is called an IDIQ, and they award that to the 10 or 15 or 20 best companies suited to do that kind of work. And then over the next 5 years, they release what they call task orders, which are little mini scopes of work that ultimately will fulfill the big scope of work they're trying to accomplish with that IDIQ contract, that big contract. And it gives the companies that were awarded the IDIQ the only vision into task orders to be able to respond with how they're going to do the work, what their pricing mechanism is, what the deliverables are going to be. And the government chooses for each task order one winner. That person executes, and then they'll release another task order with another scope of work. And those 15, 20, 50 award winners will all each get to bid again on that opportunity. But it's all about fair competition, and the government has a requirement, a legal requirement, to not just pick a friend or pick a company because they like them. They have to make sure it's the best value for the taxpayers, which is you and I, that that they're getting the best value for the dollar for whatever solution they pick. And that's how the government side of it works. Does that answer your question, Rhonda? Does that sound like that solves that commercial side's education?
Yes, thank you. And you were mentioning like iTest and Oasis Plus, they may not know
Yeah, they probably
the
don't.
advantages of
If you don't do
disadvantages.
business, even if you do business with the government, you may not know of the probably, I'm going to say 500 contracts, IDIQ overarching contracts that the government puts out for this type of task order work. So ITES happens to be IT technology for the enterprise. And, the Army put that out to uh, go across all their camps, posts, and stations that they have around the world and make sure their IT was integrated and up to date against a singular network, and all their computers were the same, and they had the same, um, tested and vetted software loaded that was safe for them to use, so that none of their important information could ever escape the network. So ITES is an IT contract for the Army. Oasis is an omnibus contract, a large multi organizations. So the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, they can all use the same contract to find work, and people that are experts at delivering that type of solution. So Oasis is a model, and it has 6 or 7 pools in it. One for large companies to bid on large work, a couple small business set aside uh, pieces of channels of work that they can submit task orders to. So it allows them to pick and choose uh, different places within that contract to get the best vendors to compete to get the best value and the best price for the taxpayers. There's hundreds and hundreds of IDIQs, each with a different reason it's put out, a different value to the government, whether it's networking, putting in backbone for phone systems and internet that Verizon and AT&T and other companies uh, bury lines across the country and across the world to communicate safely and securely, down to janitorial services that every building, every agency, every command needs. So no matter what the work is, whether it's janitorial, landscaping, or massive uh, IT networks, every different thing has different contracting vehicles to do the work. So if you're ever thinking about getting into government contracting, really need to understand how it works so that you can pick the right place to win contracts to accelerate your business. So that's all about how to shape a deal, how to become the government's friend, how to work with the system that's in place to help you win more work. So that takes us up to the 2010s. These days, the 10s through the mid 20s, everybody spent a lot of time researching through data aggregators. SAM.gov is a government public facing database of opportunities that the DoD is looking to do, where all 750 government contractors that are registered can see that information and decide if they want to get more information and potentially bid on that opportunity. Data aggregators got into the business, 15, 20 years ago. Companies like Input originally, which was purchased by Deltek and rebranded as GovWin. There's probably 10 or 15 other data aggregators, and all of them get public data from SAM and other resources. They put them in their own database. And the beauty of their model is they take free data from SAM, they put it in their own database, and then they resell it to government contractors. What a great model that is. And what they do is they spend their time with that data, calling the government, talking to the government, learning more about opportunities that aren't in SAM yet, and they put them in their database to add value. And then they give search options for people that buy subscriptions from them, and they find opportunities that match the kind of work that they're good at doing. So it became more important in the last 15 years to find a lot of opportunities to fill your pipeline, but opportunities that were qualified, things you could actually win or do, not just $1 billion worth of opportunities that you really can't deliver well. So it's all very important to find the right opportunities by doing your homework and manually searching in these data aggregators. And there's many of them. There's GovIQ, there's Bloomberg, there's Govini, Easy GovOps. So there's many companies out there, federal compass, that use public data, make it better, and then resell it for government contractors to do business. When you find things you need to do, this is the same in commercial space. You don't hear about a commercial deal and just send in a unsolicited response and say, hey, we can do that kind of work for $1 million a year, buy from us. And that company's never heard about you. They don't know who you are. They don't know why you're charging $1 million. They're not even sure half the time what you're selling them is going to fix their problem, because you've not met with them. You've not become their friend. You've not explained to them the value your company brings versus your competition. And you're not finding out what their pain points are. I can't afford $1 million a year. I can only do 750,000. Well, you should have known about that before you sent them a proposal that says you can do it for $1 million, because you won't be picked. It's about going in and befriending these people, learning what their pain is, and then coming up with a solution that they understand, that fits within their budget, that solves their problem. It's no different selling commercially in that respect than it is selling to the government. It's all about finding out what you really need, why you need it, how much you can spend, what your budget is, and then you craft a solution to solve their problem. And you hope you gave them enough value add and a good price that you beat your competition. So, the last 15 years is all about doing more research on your prospect list than we used to do 30 years ago. So that's vitally important. And that's all what's happened in the past. Now the future, the next 15 years, it's all about getting AI to help you ultimately in everything we do, in the next 5 years, I'm sure. But get these tools to help you learn more than you could have learned yourself just doing research on the internet and trying to learn about the company and checking, the Better Business Bureau and looking at all different places where you can research manually the company or government agency you're trying to sell to. And AI is rapidly becoming a huge value add, where all the search tools that we used to do research on were reactive. I told it what I was looking for, and it would show me things that matched what I was looking for. Going forward, the AI has the ability to proactively go out and tell me what I should be looking at based on my history, based on the kind of things I typically win, based on the talent of my organization, whatever I do, whether it's software development or whether it's, building a widget or, doing design work or building buildings, whatever your expertise is. If you tell AI to learn what your expertise is, show it the kind of show them. Boy, that's how intrusive AI is becoming, right? It's almost a person now instead of just a tool. But to show the AI tools the kind of deals you win, now the AI can go out and look for things that match what you do best, which gives you better opportunities that are more winnable right out of the gate, right from the start. And that's what we want to talk about today is what is that value that AI brings to organizations. You still have to visit the organizations, you still have to become their friends, and you still have to shape the deals. Learn what their pain points are, figure out what's best for them, give them what you can give them for free, and manage your way through that process. All of that is still vital, even with AI, because AI is not going to contact your customer yet. Let me say yet. AI is not going to go out, contact your customer, tell them how great you are, and close the deal for you. Not there yet. Frighteningly, maybe one day, but thankfully not there yet. Still needs human interaction to build that relationship, explain and show why you have past performance, why you can do this work, become their friend. Don't just try to be a salesperson. They want, the government, commercial, anybody that's buying any product, you'd rather buy it from somebody you trust that you're friends with than buy it from a stranger. That is the case 20 years ago, 50 years ago. It'll be the case 50 years from now. That I'm sure of, even with AI continuing to grow. So, again, thinking about selling to the government, but kind of keeping in mind if you're a commercial sales company, how that translates. Capture is just sales, right? So government capture management, where you're going in and you're becoming their friend, you're figuring out what they need, what their pain points are, what their budgets are, and you're helping move that to a more winnable position, is no different selling to the government in that regard than selling commercially. The only difference is a commercial sale is generally a month or two's worth of work, and in the government it's 2 years worth of work. So it's very similar in a lot of ways. So I want to start by what people believe AI is going to do, because I've asked a lot of people in the last couple of years, what do you think AI is supposed to do for you? And they didn't know, it was more nascent back then, early stage, but you know AI, do you think it's going to do your work for you? Well, it's going to do some things to make your work easier, and that's a good thing. If it can do the research for you, that's helping you out. Is it going to tell you what you should do? Well, as AI continues to progress, probably, um, whether we listen as humans, that's the scary part. That's what's going to determine whether AI takes over the world and we're just in it, or whether we control AI. We should still ultimately forever have the final decision process, no matter how futuristic AI becomes. Is AI going to go meet your customer for you? Is AI going to write your proposal or quote for you? Is AI going to close the deal for you? Answer any questions that the customer has, reassure them that you can do the work, make sure you're hitting all the sweet spots. That's what people think it should do. Boy, AI can do everything, so it should do all this stuff for me, so I don't really have to work, which is good or bad, but I don't really have to work. And we all know the answer is no to all of that. It's not what we're going to get. What AI really does is it's nothing but a software program which tells you it can't do everything because it was written by humans, and it's meant to work its way up to mimic the way humans think. And again, it's a long way from how we think, but that's what it's built for. Is that's what the whole artificial intelligence is supposed to mimic human intelligence in how our brains think. And our brains, we use patterns to learn. Everything that you've ever learned in your life is based on a pattern. You initially, when you're born, you see things happen in the world that your parents do for you, and you learn that pattern, that process. As you grow older, you're taught the alphabet. It has a pattern, and then the letters are put into patterns that make words, and math is put into patterns. Numbers are put into patterns that make math work. All of these are patterns that humans learn, and that's how we learn. If you touch a hot stove and you burn your finger, you learn, don't do that pattern again, right? It's all a learning curve. So AI is built to try to learn from patterns. You know, the AI, the advantage AI has is it can store incredible amounts of data and not forget what that data is. And humans, we can take, your brain has so much stuff in it that you don't even know how much stuff's in there that you've learned, just by driving down the street, and you didn't think you looked at something, but it's somewhere tucked away in some synapses of your brain that if you tripped over that, you would remember that there was a mailbox on the corner, and you didn't even see it, but you would remember that it was there. The human brains, and we only use, I don't know what, true number is, but we only use like 4% of our brain, and someday, somehow, somebody's going to figure out how to use more than what's up there to expand what we can remember and what we can learn. But we're really good in our brains at creating file cabinets, storing away data that hopefully, if you don't get too old, you can regurgitate and remember memories from when you're really young. And you can remember things all through your life that are just stored in these little file cabinets in your brain. I mean, it's just an incredible thing. That's what AI is trying to do. It's trying to store, petabytes versus amounts of data, and then quickly, computer quickly, be able to analyze that data to create patterns and then apply those patterns to solving problems, finding things, looking things up. So that's what all it is a program, software program that's built to do what it's told to do. And that's why the theory is, AI isn't going to take over the world and destroy the humans, because it's written by humans and it'll only do what we allow it to do, theoretically. So it's all about this machine learning language. Is improving every day. The neural network is all about the getting data across the World Wide Web and all this interconnected pieces of information, and then how AI learns to interpret each piece of data and understand how to communicate better. And it's getting better with using cameras and videos and facial recognition, so that it can continue to increase this vast amount of data that it's collecting, particularly in the medical field, where it can look at so much more data about a particular disease or a particular tumor or a particular cell, that it can look at scans and diagnostics and blood results and make many, many more options for doctors to interpret and then translate back to what the true patient needs are. So all of this kind of information is truly where AI becomes of value to the world, as long as we use it properly and we're getting value from it. So, how can AI help us in our companies win more business? How can it transform how we're doing work? Again, we know it should be able to help us work smarter. It should be able to find us better opportunities for us to bid on that fit our company better. It should be able to help you determine who in each company that you're selling to you should be meeting with to become their friends, to shape the deal, uh, to understand their pain points, their needs. And it should be able to keep all this information for the next time you go to bid. And all of that is where the huge value of AI should be coming in and we should be using. And for the federal side of the house, you know, good AI needs to be out using the public data that's out there and available. FPDS is a database the government has for every procurement award that's ever been made to any company, what its value is, all the information's out there. USA Spending analyzes every agency command and figures out and learns what their budget is, and you can learn what their budget is, who's bidding on deals, how much money they've won across all the years that they've been winning business, what kind of work they're doing, who their teammates are. All this information is available. And then SAM is the acquisition management system for the government. And every new opportunity is put out into SAM for people to be able to, public, be able to view and decide if they want to bid on it. Additionally, being able to get task order data for authenticated users that they're allowed to see and bringing that to the forefront without a person manually researching all these different places across the government to figure out what might work for them and their company. And those are the types of things that are so valuable that something like AI can do much faster and smarter to find opportunities than humans can. So, talking about, how to reduce our manual research time is where AI is so valuable. In this instance, I'm staying over in the GovCon space, but also the commercial space. If you can tell AI the kind of work you do, the kind of commercial companies you do work for, and ask it to go out and find the CEO's name and contact information so that you can call them, AI can go out and do a lot of that for you without manually having somebody spend that time researching to find that same or similar information. So, I always look at, what makes a great deal for my company, or if I'm helping another company, by doing consulting or whatever we're doing to support another company in their growth, what is the perfect deal? What's a great deal for your company that makes it more likely you're going to win? And we do that by starting to go backwards and explore historically, what types of deal do you win? Are they $100 million a year deals, or are they $1 million a year deals? Are they, IT is a big word and it covers a lot of area. So what part of IT do you excel in that you can deliver? If I don't know anything about installing cable underground for phones and networks, an internetworking deal that's pulling cable is not my strong suit. So it's not a deal I want to see or think I'm going to win. So research is so important to tailor down the types of deals that you are going to win, which includes how big deals are, both commercially and in the government. Nobody is going to pick a company. If I'm a commercial company and I want a building, a 200,000 square foot building built, I'm not going to pick somebody who's really good at rehabbing bathrooms. They're fabulous. If I need a bathroom done or a room redone, that's the company I want to pick. But if I want a building built, they don't have the past performance to show me that they can build a building. It's not the type of deals that they do, and it's not the size deals that they typically win. They'll win a $20,000 rehab, on a bathroom or a house, but they won't win a $20 million deal to build a building with all its intricacies and things that need to happen. So type of deal and size of deal are really important when you're doing research so that you're finding things that you're capable of winning. Now, if you're good at them, if you win a bunch of $1 million a year deals, then you should start looking for $1.5 million deals because you can prove you can do $1 million deal. So it's not a long stretch to get to $1.5 million. It is a long stretch to try to bid on a $10 million a year deal because you're not built historically to do that. So it's all about training the AI to look for the right kind of deals that fit your current company size so that you can continue to win opportunities that are most winnable for you. And again, that's one of the most important points that people just don't understand and don't think about, and they spin their wheels a lot finding deals and filling their pipeline of opportunities with things they have no chance of winning. And it's key to make sure that your pipeline of opportunities is representative of things you can win. So success is about improving. You could have 1,000 things in your pipeline, and they're all things that kind of match what you do. But what your percentage chance of winning each deal, your P-win, is the next most important thing to think about. And again, when we talked earlier about shaping deals and becoming their friends and understanding their pain points and figuring out what free things you can give them that would help their business, all those types of things are improving your P-win, are making your P-win higher. So again, it's the whole value of managing your pipeline of opportunities. Again, it has no difference whether you're selling to the government or selling commercially. You have to have a pipeline of opportunities that is significantly larger than what your expected win value is so you can make your goals each year and continue to grow your organization. So finding deals you're more likely to win. This is where AI is hugely valuable because it can easily understand what you've already won, figure out what those deals look like, and then go out and find deals similar to that, which makes them already more likely that you can win because you already can prove to the customer, I've already done this 10 times. I know how to do this work. I can build you a building. I can show you 9 other buildings that I've done that are similar in size and scope. And I can let you talk to those customers and they can tell you what a great job we did. That's how you win more business. So it's, again, it's becoming that trusted advisor, that friend where, you can, whenever you go in and talk to a prospect, most people go in on the first day, and if they meet them a second day, all they do is pound them down with sales. Sell, sell, sell. Take, take, take. Gimme, gimme, gimme. And customers or prospects get sick of taking phone calls and taking meetings where people are just, yakking about, here's what I could do. Here's what I do. Here's what I do. Here's what I do. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Write me a check. Write me a contract. And they didn't feel like they got anything out of it. So we talked earlier about, you need to, People don't, if you go to any sales training, first thing they'll teach you is to go into your meeting and listen. Don't spend the hour that you've been gifted and never let them get in a word edgewise and just talk about how great you are, how wonderful you are. And all that does is frustrates the listener. And if you ask for a second meeting, they're probably not going to take it because they're sick of listening to you already. You need to give. You can give educationally. You can give as a trusted advisor, advice and suggestions. You can give away services or products, free websites or whatever. But you will, the old adage, you'll win more friends with honey, right? So the next meeting you go into where you're trying to sell something, listen first, understand what they're trying to accomplish, understand what makes a success, and if that person's promotable or gets value out of that success, and then start giving back. Again, don't take. Start giving back. Well, how about if if the customer says, I'm not really sure what we're trying to accomplish, we need to put in, a new system and a new this and a new that, and I'm still learning how AI works, so not quite sure what AI is going to do to help this whole process. Well, if you're an AI expert, write them a white paper, give them something back that says, let me explain to you how AI works, or how this widget works, or how this process works, or what it takes to build a building. If you've never built a building, or had a building built, you don't really know what it takes. So if somebody just goes in and just says, yeah, I can build you a building and it's $1 million, yeah, just write me a check. I'm still scared to death because I don't know what a building is going to do or what it means. But if that person starts to give me guidance and gives me a write up, 20-page PowerPoint that kind of guides me through, well, the first step is, you got to buy land. And the second step is we have to evaluate the land and see if it perks. And the third step is we've got to see if the city or town or state, will allow us to build that there and get permits. And, you can walk them through the learning curve. And believe me, even if they don't pick you, and you did all this stuff for them, you didn't lose anything. Because if they hired somebody else and that project doesn't go well, they're going to remember who helped them. And they're going to call on you again, and start to use you as a trusted advisor for perhaps the next project. So anytime you can give, you're going to win friends and influence people, as it were. So really change your sales model in your head and listen to what their pain points are, and then offer them suggestions and education and things that you can give them if you're awarded the job that will benefit them, make them more promotable within their company, or make their company more successful. Huge value add. And AI can be so valuable in finding you the right people to talk to, the right companies to be in front of. Just, learn to give, not take. A huge sales model point. So AI integration, again, we develop software for government contractors. Specifically, it works for commercial companies, but it's specifically built for government contractors to understand how to help them shape the deals. And, AI is supposed to help you find better deals. So, in our case, we're integrated with these three platforms. We're adding 6 or 7 new data aggregators for reactive searches by our customers to find opportunities. But our AI goes out and learns the kind of deals you tend to win, how big they are, what kind of things you deliver and what kind of talents you have. And then it goes out and finds things that look like that and brings them back and sorts them in a list that tells you which is the best fit on down the line. So you can start at the top and know that's the best one. And then, like all AI, is built to learn, just like humans. When you touch the stove and you burn your finger one time, your little brain says, don't do that again. So learn from that. Look for the red glow. Look for the button that's turned on. Look for the gas flame before you touch anything and make sure it's not hot. So AI is built to learn as it progresses so that it becomes smarter and more valuable. So, any system you think about buying that's going to help you in your sales process, make sure that you can control what it learned. In our case, finds this opportunity, it matched your past win criteria and what you're looking to do, and then it allows you to tell the system, find more deals that look like this, or down here tell the system, I read this one and it's not really a good fit for us, so find less deals that look like this. And every time the AI processes, every time it runs, it learns from all the input that your sales organization is giving it, and it keeps finding better and better matches for the opportunities that you're more likely to win, which already crafts your pipeline into a better, more winnable pipeline. So it's vital that you are finding AI that's actually going to help you in your sales process, your sales model, to predict more winnable deals that you have in your pipeline. And that automatically makes the cost of sales for winning a deal, the cost of selling, it makes that investment much more valuable than the old days when we used to sell things and try to win just based on price or merit. So make sure that any AI you look for and use learns from what you're doing and what you're telling it, and that it's helping you find better deals, more winnable deals, to put them in whatever system of record you might be using to manage your pipeline. And then nowadays, even more importantly than ever, having a solution that gets away from the stovepipes is even more valuable to your sales organization and to your overall organization. You might use Chat GPT to go out and search for something, and it'll bring you back some results in Chat GPT. And then you have to take those results, because you're in a stovepipe, and you have to manually enter them into a spreadsheet. And then you take that spreadsheet and you have to analyze it and get rid of the good stuff, or keep the good stuff, get rid of the bad stuff. And then whatever's left, you have to manually move to another stovepipe and put into some Salesforce or system of record that you might be using to track your information. That was great 20 years ago. And, it was painful, but it was better than the previous process. Nowadays, efficiency is so important, where our expense dollars are so high in sales organizations that we need to mitigate those expenses by working smarter and finding how to break down those stovepipes to manage them in an enterprise-wide integrated system, so that everything's in one place that everybody can use and navigate at the same time. So you want some type of system, dealing with sales that's integrated all the way from using AI to find opportunities, bringing those opportunities into the same system, tracking them, shaping those deals throughout the system, running them through a bidding process, whether it's a quote for a customer commercially or an RFP response on the GovCon side, and then giving yourself a better chance of being awarded at the end of the day than any other company competitor that you're dealing with. Having a fully integrated platform saves time, saves money, and organizes your company to spend more time analyzing and finding the right deals, more winnable deals, and spending time in front of the customers than in front of each stovepipe trying to move data back and forth from system to system. So that's something you really need to think of and try to keep track of.
Skip, we are at time, so if you want to do a 2-minute close for us, sir, we would appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, AI is a great thing. You should expose yourself to AI as much as you can, learn as much about it as you can, and try to get the most value out of the products that you're using so that you can minimize the busy work in your company and maximize your time in front of your customers. And that's the value of AI across any enterprise over the next 15 years. So thank you very much, Rhonda. Thank you, everybody out there. I did exactly what I told you not to do in the sales process, which is talk the entire hour. But now we have time to do some Q&A and some questions and see if I can find ways to give back.
Thank you so much, Skip. So now's your time. I've been monitoring the questions for everyone. If you all have a question for Skip, I guess we'll do one thing. I really loved how you foot stomped value creation, the utilization of AI to drive efficiencies for you as an executive, to drive efficiencies for your organization with regard to time and resourcing and budget, and to help you discover core competencies, quals, etc. For those on the line, if they're just starting out with this, Skip, is there one step forward you can advise them to take in this whole AI integration with their capture management and business development portions of their organization?
Yeah, I mean the key is to find an integrated solution so that you're not stovepiped. So as you're doing demos with companies and trying to find sales software to help you, make sure the AI isn't a plug-in or a separate item that you do. Make sure it's fully integrated so that anything you find is automatically in the system and automatically processed, so you don't lose track of opportunities.
Thank you, Skip. And I think another one is kind of this is a foundational question for you. You talked about the roadmap for AI. You talked about really your consulting, advising, solutioning background. Maybe you could talk a moment about what inspired your journey to leverage AI and really integrate it into this phenomenal tool suite that you've shared with us, Skip.
Well, that's a great question. So, we developed the software 15 years ago, and we knew people had to find opportunities in data sources. So we built reactive search processes to do that. But in the last couple of years, AI, started to make a presence. And the more I learned about it, the more I used things like ChatGPT, and the smarter it got. We immediately understood that for us to be successful with Capture Exec, we need to be on the leading edge of technology for our customers, not on the trailing edge. And so we invested heavily to not use somebody else's technology, but to build our own that was specific to the government contracting market space, and utilize the value that AI brings for this research and accumulation of knowledge that humans just don't have the time for anymore, or the budget, mindfully. So we knew
Thank
we
you.
had to be out ahead of that. So thank you.
Thank you, Skip. And so maybe a closer question for today. You talked about this 10-year runway and a lot of opportunity. So maybe a two-part question. Is there one lesson or misconception about AI that you wish more people really understood the merits of? And then what's one thing looking forward that you are either your organization is trying to bring to fruition, or you think the acquisition solution area will bring to fruition?
That's a great statement question. You know, a the biggest misconception is that AI is going to replace your job. Everybody's scared of AI. It's just, I write proposals for a living, and now AI is writing proposals, and I'm going to lose my job. Or I sell, and AI can go out and find better things that I can find, and start the sales process without me, and I'm going to lose my job. That's not going to happen. We need to manage our own futures. We need to use AI to bring value to us, and then we need to disseminate that information that we get from AI and apply true human thought, which is still 1,000 times better at doing analysis than AI is, because we can interpret emotion, and we can interpret customer reactions when we talk to them. AI can't do that. So, the lesson is, use AI to do your research for you, and spend your time in front of a real person, understanding what their needs are by listening, and then craft a solution that helps them be more successful.
I love it. Thank you so much, Skip. We are so glad that you joined us to talk about the innovative use of AI in our business development and capture management area. You have a lot of kudos coming into the chat. I know there'll likely be more questions, so I will follow up with you with regard to whatever future questions that we get back to you. I know one we always have is, will you share your deck with us, Mr. Speaker?
Well, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is, again, it's a give, right? Don't take, take, take. I'd love for people to call me and buy our software, but this is about giving my knowledge back that helps people be smarter in what they're selling. So please, please share the deck with everybody, so that they can review it again and get some value out of it.
Oh, we had a technical mishap there. So my apologies, folks. We will close out here. Let me just share one last time. My apologies.
Did you record this, Rhonda?
I did record this. Yes, we should have the majority of the recording right there.
That'd be great
Showing
because
my
we'll publish that as well.
application died. So for those of you who are still on the line, thank you so much for joining us tonight with Mr. Skip Blackburn. And this is ASQ Innovation Division wrapping up our July webinar. On behalf of our chair, Mr. Tracy Owens, our chair-elect, Ms. Jackie Jolly, our secretary, Ms. Sonia Montero, our immediate past chair, Ms. Rebecca Mott, our financial manager, Mr. Larry Miller, and myself, your event chair for 2025, Dr. Rhonda Farrell. We thank you so much for being here and our wonderful speaker for this timely and relevant topic for tonight to help you build your business development and capture management practice with innovation. If you are not a member of ASQ, I will send out this deck where we have a join link. ASQE has many case studies and research on innovation, especially with regard to the utilization of emerging technologies and AI. And we invite you to join our innovation technical community link. We also welcome you to our upcoming webinar events where we'll be talking about innovation in different industry segments. Our next one coming up is healthcare and education, followed by innovation within emerging technologies, and a phenomenal look at ASQ's own AI agent, Quincy, and then lastly, looking at AI within the continuous improvement and total quality management area. So again, thank you so much for our wonderful guest speaker tonight, Mr. Skip Blackburn. We so appreciate your presentation and look forward to joining all of you again for our August webinar. Good night, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend and stay safe.